You're listening to The Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, Joe Dilworth. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I say good morning, even though some of you might not be listening to this in the morning, so I apologize for any confusion.
Well,
But it is morning for us.
you know, though, that people are going to want to listen to this as soon as it's live, so it'll probably be morning for them.
Well, that's a good point. You're absolutely right. Yes, as soon as it comes live in your feeds on Tuesday, you can immediately listen on Apple Podcasts and on Google Podcasts and on Stitcher and every other place you can find podcasts. And as I say frequently, and Joe says too, we do have a Patreon.
Yep.
Patreon.com/TheFlickcast. Flickcast. Wow, I can't even say my own podcast name. That's sad. So you can check us out there, and if you want to throw the show a few bucks, that's great. We'd appreciate it. Been working on some new graphics, so you'll see that at the Patreon, and at the Twitter at the Flickcast, and of course Joe is on What Joe Writes, and I am at Chris U. So if you want to find us there,
and be sure to tell all your friends and tell them they can go find us at Apple Podcasts, where you can leave a review, which would be great. And those of you that have already, thank you so much. And also, we're available to all of the podcasting apps and sites, Stitcher and Google Play and all that kind of fun stuff. So tell your friends, tell them to go find us and listen. So there you go.
That's right. And listen. Just listen up.
Yes, just
so today.
Listen.
Just listen. Just let it happen. So we don't have to backtrack or anything. We won't talk about Dune again today.
No.
But I'm sure we'll get back to that. But something even more exciting, well, I don't know if it's more exciting, but something exciting happened this week. The new Suicide Squad movie with James Gunn directing, with mostly a new cast, and of course a Y the Last Man trailer finally.
Yes.
Which is only like 15 years in development, so I'm glad to see that. Do you want to go to Y the Last Man first, or do you want to go to Suicide Squad first, or what's your preference?
Let's talk about Y first.
Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with Y the Last Man, it's based on the comics by Brian K. Vaughan and Peter Guerrera from, I don't even remember when they came out, but it's been I wasn't joking, it's been like 15 years, right?
Yes.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's basically about this guy, York Brown, who is literally the last man on Earth after all the men die, leaving all the women in charge, for the most part.
Yes.
So it's been in development as a series and as a movie and as another series and then a miniseries and then like a streaming show, and then it's been in development for a while. And so finally, it's coming to, I guess, Hulu or FX on Hulu, whatever.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. Is it?
It means FX, I guess, developed the show, but then they're premiering it on Hulu. But I've seen other FX shows on Hulu, so maybe they have some kind of partnership going. I don't know the details of that one. I don't keep up with all the deals and machinations of everything.
So here's my question, and perhaps
yes.
Being podcasters, we could investigate this and figure it out. But what I wonder is, being FX on Hulu, does that mean that they're held to the strictures that are under broadcast FX, or since they're on Hulu, can they swear and show nudity and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, I would assume it can be more if it's just going to be it's going to debut on Hulu.
Right.
So I'm thinking that, yes, there'll probably be more. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really see that much in the trailer, whether, it wasn't super violent or super graphic.
Right.
I mean, it could be. I mean, there were a lot of nose bleeding.
There isn't a whole lot of that in the comic to begin with. I was just kind of curious what FX on. I mean, maybe you're right. It's just that it was produced by FX, and I think doesn't one of them own the other or something? So maybe it was like, well, we don't have space on our schedule on FX, so we'll put it on Hulu.
That could be, yeah, that could be. I mean, definitely FX is the production company who's making the show. So, but yeah, they've been doing a lot of this FX on Hulu stuff instead of FX's linear cable. So they probably decided it was going to be like a little bit more than could be on regular cable. Although FX has some, I don't know if you watched a couple of shows on there, but there's been some, they don't mind they push it. Yeah, they don't mind the violence and the nudity. But like you said, there's not a lot of it in this. I mean,
yeah,
certainly with the show produced and directed by women, I doubt there's going to be a lot of gratuitous female nudity for sure, which is fine. Not that there was in the comics either, but I'm just excited. I love this comic. I think it was great. And I'm excited to finally see it coming out. But the trailer is interesting. It does give you basically everybody. You get Yorick, and you get I always forget everyone's names because I haven't read this in a long time. But you get Agent 355, and you get the president. Although I don't remember the president being so prominent in the comics, because that's Diane Lane.
Yeah, she wasn't like part of the story until later, and didn't really show up like a lot.
Yeah, well, they're obviously mixing it up a little bit because, she doesn't show up that much. But then you get Yorick's sister, played by Olivia Thirlby, which I like her. She's good in the. Oh boy, I Am the Law.
Judge
Karl
Dredd.
Urban. I can't remember.
Yeah, Dredd.
Judge Dredd. No, just Dredd.
Dredd.
Yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, that was actually really good. Dredd. I enjoyed.
I liked it a lot. That was great. I would like to see more of that, but
I would see more of that too. Yeah, it was really one of those great sort of self-contained movies. If you've never seen Dredd with Karl Urban, it's definitely worth watching. It's really stylistic and cool, and the music. I like the music a lot too. So,
yep.
But yeah, Diane Lane. I don't know. I've never seen. I don't think Ben Schetzner, who plays.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in anything either. So I'm kind of curious. He seems okay in just the brief glimpses. I mean, he's supposed to be kind of this hapless guy trying to figure out what the hell's going on, kind of thing.
He's just a dude with a monkey in the post-apocalyptic.
Well, yes, ampersand. So awesome.
Ampersand, the monkey.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Is ampersand CG? I couldn't tell. It was so real.
I know. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be CG monkey though. But
what?
Yeah,
CG monkey?
I think so.
That's terrible.
That's my new band name, by the way.
CG monkey. Yeah. I like it. He was in an episode of Law and Order, and he was in the series Happy Town. And he was in The Book Thief. I've never seen any of these things.
Either.
So I'm aware of Law and Order, though.
Yes.
Let's see what Book Thief is. Jeffrey Rush, Emily Watson. Okay. Oh no, it's about Nazis burning books and shit. Oh, it's probably anyway, because Nazis don't like books or learning or nothing. Anyway, I think he'll be fine. I just am excited to finally see the show, and I hope it. Because the trailer looked pretty good, so I hope it lives up to the hype. But it's like anything. I'm still skeptical. Like, I was skeptical when Preacher came out, because I thought that Preacher was really hard to adapt, first of all. And second of all...
It was Seth Rogen, so you knew it was going to be terrible. But
well, I'm not going to say that, because I don't hate Seth Rogen as much as you do.
He didn't star in it, and he
he
didn't show up on camera, so it's probably actually okay.
No, I was skeptical that he was able to pull it off, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. So that was one of those times where I was like, oh, pleasantly surprised. Unlike watching like Green Hornet, where I was not pleasantly surprised.
Right.
But I think he would also be the first to admit that Green Hornet was a bad film. So you swing for the fences, but you don't always make a home run, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Colorful sports metaphor here.
Yes.
Amber Tamblyn. I don't really recognize most of these names, but that's okay. You know what? That's okay. I will say that it doesn't. Unknowns are okay. Maybe that's why they have it anchored by somebody like Diane Lane, who's a proven. Not that they have to have names at all. I mean, they could have had nobody in it, and it probably would have been fine. But
yeah, I mean, I would say, just judging by the trailer, as they were going to anyway. I'm sure they've altered the story somewhat to work better in a visual medium, right? So,
sure, or because comics aren't a visual medium.
I mean, a live action.
I know.
I
know. I'm just kidding.
Motion picture type of. Medium.
I mean, it's just a series of pictures at 30 pictures a second, right? Or 24, depending on what you're shooting.
Or if you flip the comic fast enough, it looks like they're moving. So.
Right, exactly. They are moving. It's like one of those things, stick figure thing or whatever. What's that called? Kinetoscope or something? Anyway, So I'm down, and it comes out pretty soon. I mean, I was aware of the fact that it was being made, but I had not seen anything or heard anything about it because, probably because of COVID or whatever. But I just wasn't following it as closely as I thought. I think because I've been burned before, and so I was just bringing it out of my mind.
It's like I'll believe it when I actually see the first episode.
When I'm watching it, yeah, exactly. Like watching, this Dune movie or the next James Bond movie, which will never come out. So
yeah, that thing was made in the 1920s. It's crazy.
Yeah, they had to hand crank the camera. It was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I actually saw a trailer for James Bond the other day, and I was
You're like, oh yeah,
it's really good. Oh yeah, that's coming out. I forgot about that. You Gewalt. Anyway,
now I'm a huge fan of Y the Last Man. It was one of those series I didn't get into like exactly when the first issue came out, but within the first dozen issues, I said, well, I'm going to give it. I think actually like when the first trade came out. So it may have been going for a little while. First trade paperback came out. I bought that, read that, and then immediately went and got caught up and then read it all the way through. And it was one of those that tells a full, complete, satisfying story, but you're still bummed when it ends because you're kind of invested and used to, like, each month revisiting this world and seeing what new thing is going on, and then it's over and it's like, oh man. But having you have a complete story that you can reread again and again, which I have done, and it's great.
You can, yeah. And I'm sure that as a series, like, let's take the example of The Walking Dead. I mean, The Walking Dead has gone way past any Walking Dead comic tie-in at this point. So, like Game of Thrones,
yes.
They ran out of novels.
Yes.
So it's like, I'm sure that they are planning this, as most TV people do, probably to go for 5 years. And so I'm sure they have a lot more story. I mean, Brian K. Vaughan is also a producer on the show too, so yes. I'm sure that he probably has other ideas. But I am gratified in a way. I'm happy to see that it's being handled by mostly women, because it's a show and a story about women in general.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It literally is all the men die for some reason, except for Yorick. And I'm trying to remember why he still survived, but I can't remember, because it's been a while since I've read it, which is good. I probably won't go back and revisit it now, since this is coming out in September, which is not that far away.
Well, it's a huge spoiler, so we shouldn't.
It is a huge spoiler, so we shouldn't say it, even if I did remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would just I'm not going to go back and reread it, but I'm happy that I'll get to almost experience the story again for the first time, because it's been a couple of years. But it used to be the thing that I would recommend to anybody who wanted. What's good in comics? I'm like, well, here, take this by The Last Man, first graphic novel, or first whatever you call it, trade.
Yeah.
And because I bought a couple of the first ones, and so I gave one to my brother-in-law, and I gave one to a couple other people, and they're all hooked, and they all ended up getting it. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's really good. Brian K. Vaughan's a great writer. I don't know why. I mean, I know he's working on other things, but I don't know.
I like
why he's not bigger, I guess, is a terrible thing to say, maybe, but why isn't he as well known as other people?
Yeah, he's written some great series that I love, like Why the Last Man, and then Ex Machina. It's a great series. Pretty much, he's like one of those that anything he writes, I'm going to read. I mean,
Have you read Saga? Saga's awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic too. I think they're trying to make movies and TV out of that as well. But
they should.
Yeah. So. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure why he isn't. Paper Girls, that's the other thing that is coming to TV that he wrote as well.
Right.
Another comic book.
Right.
So it's like a lot of his stuff seems to be developed for TV and movies, and they're just great stories. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if he writes just compelling characters, but he puts them in situations and storylines that are like easily condensed to a tagline, but they're so rich, and the worlds that he builds are so fantastic. Yeah, he's a really good writer. You're right. He should be a bigger household name than he is.
Yeah, I think that, and here's the other thing that's cool about Brian K. Vaughan is that I met him, I think it was the LA Festival of Books, and I was just, I think I was there for, I don't know why, but anyway, I was journalisting stuff at the time. He could not have been nicer, is the point of this story. He could not have been nicer to everybody. He took the time to talk to everybody, and he answered all the questions, and he was just like, he seemed generally happy to be there and happy to respond to fans and journalists and whatever. He was just a cool guy. And that's like the only time I've run into him, really, I think. But I've never heard one bad thing about him. Maybe he's just like not a person who seeks the spotlight. Who knows? Not everybody wants to be up front and famous, right? He just wants to write his stuff and.
Well, he doesn't write like everything. I mean, he's very specific. He's written a few comics for Marvel and DC, but has quickly kind of gotten into his own series, and he doesn't seem to write multiple stuff. It's like if he's writing one series, he sticks with that and completes it and moves on. So which is good.
He did work on Lost. That must have been interesting.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, he did. Yeah. So.
I don't know. Well, and you know what? If I'm a writer and I'd written some stuff and they call up from Lost when it was sort of at the height of its popularity, and they said, "Hey, you want to come and write?" I'll be like, "Yeah, absolutely. I'll be right there. When do you want? When do you want me to show up? I'll fly to Hawaii right now." Although the writer's room probably wasn't in Hawaii. Probably.
He wrote a few episodes over like 2 or 3 seasons. So
yeah, and that was actually one thing that made me more interested in Lost again, because frankly, Lost started to get lost in my opinion, but. I was like, oh, Brian K. Vaughan's going to be on the show writing. So I'm like, oh, now I'm interested.
Oh, and he also was the showrunner, executive producer, and a writer on Under the Dome, the TV series.
You're Under the Dome.
Oh. Your Dome.
Your Dome.
Which I thought that was a good show, but...
I never watched it. I did read the book, though. Stephen King, right?
So yeah, it goes way different than the book, but...
Yeah, I'm sure it does. But I'm sure the book takes a weird turn, as often with Stephen King. I like the book, and I thought about watching the show, and I guess I still can.
Yes, you can.
I haven't.
Yes.
I'm sure it's available for streaming somewhere. But we kind of got on a Brian K. Vaughan tangent, so I apologize.
We did. So Why the Last Man's coming out in September. We'll talk more about it, obviously, when it airs, but you should definitely make an appointment to check it out.
It's appointment television, right?
Yes, it should be, because it's going to be
I wonder if they're going to drop all the episodes, or they're going to do like one. Hulu does that. They do like one a week, don't they?
I think they're going to drop like the first two at once and then do a weekly thing. Yeah, those assholes. How dare they?
I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand it, and I don't know why it upsets me, but... Because it shouldn't be any different, right? Whether it's streaming, whether it's on regular TV or whatever, it shouldn't be any different. You should just wait a week for everything. But back in the day, it was because you had to wait because they were actually producing the show at the time.
Right, exactly.
They didn't. Then so it was like, well, we got deliver another episode so it can air. So I'm not sure what the problem is now because they make these months in advance or whatever, and they've got everything that they can. So why not just release it? But
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of the tendency nowadays, isn't it? We're going to do. I think some of the broadcast network shows still produce and make episodes while the season's going on. They're stuck in their old thing. But yeah, most of the stuff on...
Oh, no, they do for sure.
Most of the stuff on cable and streaming, it's like, oh, it's not going to air until the whole season's completed, but we're only going to give it to you one episode at a time. It's like, why? Why?
That's a Netflix thing. They started binging, right? They started.
Yeah, but now they're
the entire series.
Now they're doing the same thing with some of their stuff. It's like, oh, it's going to be an episode a week. It's like, why? So.
Well, I'm sure it's that they realized, if you burn the entire series, then no one's going to come back,
right.
Or they're going to get Netflix for a month and burn the whole show and then cancel their subscription. So it's all about customer retention.
Well, and now we have the situation and we can briefly talk about this with like Stranger Things. The last season aired in 2019. They're still making the new season. So, it's going to be like a 3-year wait, and then we're going to watch all the episodes in a weekend, and then it's going to be like, okay, now what? So I kind of get it.
That's true. So I do. Yeah, that's true. And they had to wait for COVID to be over or, whatever. Yeah. And then, but so 2022 for Stranger Things 4.
Yeah.
And then, you're right. That's funny you say that. I wonder if they'll do the same thing with that. I wonder if they'll piecemeal it out a little bit more. We'll see. I guess we'll see. But we got a ways to go for that one.
Yeah.
But it looks interesting. I mean, you don't really get much in the new teaser that just came out.
No, it's like 10 seconds with a couple shots, and that's about it.
Yeah, but people are gonna see that.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes.
People are gonna watch to see what happens with Captain Russia or whatever his name is. Anyway,
Captain Russia.
Yeah. Captain Russia. So all right, well. We've waited long enough. I guess we should talk about James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, right?
Yeah, there's not Suicide Squad. It's The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad. Let's not get that confused with the David Ayer Suicide Squad, which now, here's the funny thing. I guess it's funny, but a lot of the cast are like, oh, I'd like to see the Ayer cut. So
yeah, it's that whole thing. So I guess you could technically say
it's going to blow up now.
To be honest, none of us have actually seen David Ayer's Suicide Squad, but...
That's true. According to him, no one has seen it except a few.
We've seen bits and pieces that the studio allowed us to see, but
right. I wonder if it bothers him that James Gunn apparently could do literally whatever he wanted to. Because let's be honest, this movie is kind of bonkers.
It's totally bonkers. Yes.
And I use that word because it's like the perfect word to describe the movie. It is fucking bonkers. It's just so much weird shit happening that doesn't seem to be so. Here's my take on it. I'm not a take, but here's my like first reaction. It's like, wow, this is like over the top violent for one thing.
Yes.
Which I thought was interesting. It's like more of a grindhouse kind of style movie, which I love. Yeah. And more like trauma. I'm sure it shows his trauma roots, right? A little bit. I mean, even Lloyd Kaufman's in the movie at some point. I'm sure. I don't remember what his cameo was, but Ostrander was in it too. I know
he was. That was really cool. He even got lines. That was terrific.
He did get a good dog. Yeah, whatever. But John Ostrander, who originally created the Suicide Squad, in case anybody's wondering. Yeah. the the comic book guy. Anyway,
Yes.
Yeah, it just seemed super violent, and again, that doesn't bother me. The violence part doesn't bother me, but it seemed like an out of place. Because I think of like, I don't know, like the perfect quote unquote DC superhero movie is kind of like Christopher Nolan's Batman, right? In my opinion, it's like it's really good. It's still dark, but it's not super hyper violent, and there's not like blood splattering everywhere. This was like over the top almost, and it didn't bother me, but it seemed like what kind of movie are we making here?
Right.
I don't know.
We're making a James Gunn movie. I mean,
yeah, clearly
from the horribly beautiful mind of James Gunn, as the trailers have said.
That's right. So what's and that's fine. And obviously DC didn't necessarily care, or Warner Bros. Didn't necessarily care about making a movie that tied in with any other DC movie ever made.
Right.
Because it's basically some of the same characters that don't even reference the whole movie they were already in together, except oh, this is going to be kind of some spoilers probably for
let's say that right now. Huge spoilers, because there are specific things I want to talk about. So huge spoilers. If you haven't watched yet, go watch it, then come back and listen.
I mean, you get Captain Boomerang back, and you get Harley obviously, and you get Flag back, and Amanda Waller, but not anybody else really.
No, it's pretty much all new characters after that.
But they don't reference the last movie. They don't talk about it. The only thing that kind of seems like in the airplane at the beginning, when Captain Boomerang says, "What are you back in prison?" They know each other, like they had to pass, but it's like nothing really happened. I mean, did Flag just forget about his girlfriend that he had in the first movie, or? It's like a lot of stuff happened in that one that's basically forgotten, which is fine, and whatever. So it's not really a sequel, it's not really a prequel. It's kind of like the same story but different.
But it's not the same. Which I thought story, but
Well, no, I mean it's
same premise.
No, it's not, but the same premise. Yeah, I don't mean so. Yeah, same premise. It's like, so are we supposed to forget about the other movie, or what is? I guess my question is, what is the point of this movie?
It's to do a fun Suicide Squad movie. You don't have to have watched anything else. Much like any good movie. I don't think it's intended as a sequel. It exists in the same world. But no, I think it's totally fine, especially since it's been quite a few years since the previous one. You can watch this without having seen any other DC movie and have a good time. And they do a great job of letting you know who all of the characters are and what they're about. So it's a self-contained movie, and if you're done, I can get into my hot take on it, which I think is going to be more exuberant than yours. But
I'd like to hear. Oh, I'm not saying I didn't like it. I think what's funny is I felt the same way about this as I kind of felt about the first Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, oh, that was pretty good, but I think it'll take me more time to digest it.
Okay, I can see that.
Go ahead.
So I too felt the same way as the first Guardians movie, but my reaction. I'm not gonna lie, I am an adult, but at the end of the Guardians movie, I kind of teared up, going, man, I just saw that movie, and that was just amazing. And I kind of felt the same way with this. It was bonkers. That really is the best way to describe it. But in
absolutely
all the great ways, it was over the top violent. They definitely swore all the time. I actually saw someone that was offended by that, and I'm like, it's a rated R movie, right? But okay.
Except Harley Quinn doesn't swear, does she?
She did a couple times.
Yeah, but not very much. Anyway, go ahead.
And I just thought I am very much happy with James Gunn's ability to take little known and or quirky comic book characters and make them just like unabashedly awesome on screen. I mean, it shouldn't have worked. If they try to play that movie serious, it would have been terrible.
Well, it's serious to the people in the movie.
Yes,
right? They're not making fun of it. It's serious. It's serious to Polka Dot Man. And it's serious to Ratcatcher 2. What, you couldn't afford Ratcatcher? What? Sorry.
But I mean, at the same time, though, it's like they make he does. I think he does a really great job with a huge ensemble cast. Even we said spoilers. Even ones that get picked off fairly early, they still something about them, and there's some of them that you're actually like, well, damn, that sucks that character's gone now. And he does a great job of putting, even though it's like bonkers over the top extremely cartoony and violent, there's a heart to it, and there's like, especially the characters, when you get towards the end, you actually like care about them and you're invested in nothing happening to them. So it's I don't know. I thought it was great. I definitely will be watching it multiple times because much like the Guardians movies, it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of layers and a lot more to it there.
Do you think people are going to watch this having never watched any other Suicide Squad or DC film? I mean, they do tie it in to the greater DC universe. I mean, even when they introduced Idris Elba's character, it's like he put Superman in the hospital. They mentioned Superman by name, so obviously it's in the DCU.
Yes.
So I mean, these characters are in the DCU, and some of them are the dumbest superheroes in the world with like these weird sort of, it's funny to me that. The way I looked at it too was like James Gunn is like a guy who's like, I got all these friends that I want to give jobs to,
Yeah.
So come and hang out for a few days on set, and then you'll have some fun too. Because I mean, who shows up? I mean, his brother's obviously in it, and Nathan Fillion shows up. Rooker's in there, of course.
Yes.
I mean, it's all these people, especially at the beginning, like you said. It's funny, that was going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And you know the fate of pretty much everyone in the movie.
Well, it's kind of in the title, but
It is, and I would say there's a couple of standout things for me. I liked. It's weird to watch this after watching F9 with John Cena, and having him be so bad in that, and yet so funny in this one.
He was really good in this. You're right. In F9, it was like, is anybody even directing him, or are they just saying, just do your stuff?
He's like a robot in that one, but he's funny in this one. Well, obviously James Gunn's a better director.
Yes,
with actors.
Yes.
But Cena can do comedy. He's funny. His line with "No one likes to show off unless what they're showing off is dope as fuck."
Exactly.
And he's like, "Damn, that's true." But the scene that really there are a couple of points in this movie that I really like. There's a scene with Idris Elba and his daughter, and they're having that argument.
That was great.
And he's like, "Who steals fucking TV? Why do you want to watch TV on your watch?" She's like, "It does other stuff." Yeah. She's like yelling at him, and that was just funny.
Yeah, it was like what I liked about the Guardians movie so much, and then this one in particular, is that I can't speak. Is that James Gunn doesn't? I mean, he's totally setting up the stereotypical thing. It's like, I'm gonna force you to talk to your daughter, and you expect this big emotional, why can't you be there, Daddy? And it's like, it's going to be okay. But no, he goes in a completely different direction, and they're yelling, fuck you, at each other. It's pretty great.
Yeah. He's mad that she got caught stealing. That she was stealing.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it was just...
Bring someone else. That way they can watch out for you. I'm like,
it was just an unexpected pivot, and I think a lot of that, like towards the end when they're sneaking into the camp to rescue Flag, and they're killing all the guys, and they find out they just killed off like most of the freedom fighters.
Oops, sorry.
That was great. I mean, that's not
awkward.
That's not how, it's kind of like I'm gonna do this stereotypical story beats, but I'm gonna kind of turn them on their ear, and that's what I love about him. That's what was so good to me about this one. And I kind of knew from the beginning with that huge ensemble cast, I'm like, so there's only going to be like 3 or 4 people that are going to make it out of this.
Oh, sure.
And
absolutely.
That kind of, to me, I was like, okay, so this is like an actual real version of the Suicide Squad. Because like the first movie, like two, maybe 3 characters died.
And you
in this
care
one,
about them anyway.
It's like a bloodbath. And it was great, though. But,
yeah,
I don't know. I really loved it.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed it for sure, and I thought it was funny. It was just, I think of things in like a larger context. Like this would never, it doesn't really fit in with the larger DCU at all.
No.
Even with Zack Snyder's stuff, it doesn't fit in at all.
No.
It's definitely on its own thing. And I wonder if this would have been able to be possible had not Joker made so much money, because Joker was obviously R-rated, but totally different than any other like DC movie about superheroes up to that point, and it was like really weird, but not in this way, not weird this way. But this is basically James Gunn with like unlimited budget and just doing whatever the fuck he wants to do, which I thought was
totally got out of his way. I mean, King Shark. How can you not love King Shark? He was awesome.
King Shark, voiced by Sylvester Stallone. You gotta love that.
Just.
It was funny. I liked Cena's peacemaker, peace at any cost. That was pretty funny. But yeah, you're right. He's trying to subvert expectations a little bit, but I mean, you knew again, spoilers. You knew that Bloodsport would turn out to be a good guy. I mean, there's no way he's not, right? Yeah. There's no way he's not. And you knew, even though Harley Quinn is crazy, she's not that crazy. So she's just kind of difficult. So it was, I will say, it was unexpected at one point in the movie where Harley is, falling in love with the dictator guy. Again, heavy spoilers here, folks. Sorry. Yeah. I thought for sure, I was like, don't stand next to that window.
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime, in any movie I've ever seen, some dude standing next to a fucking window, and he's going to get shot through the window.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It always happens. It always happens. Like he's holding milk. He's like by the window.
I figure it's going to
be scene of Lethal Weapon.
Be like, Bloodsport or one of the other people that shoots him, though, right? I mean, that's what they were leading up to. And then it's Harley. It's like, what?
That was an interesting story beat, and you for a while you're like, oh, Harley's not so bad, and then you realize, oh no, she's crazy.
Yeah, well, especially then her ensuing escape in violence. There's flowers and animated characters around because
she found that staff or the javelin, so it was all about power.
Yeah, but it's like from her mind, it's like, she's nuts. You can think what you want about her. Oh, she's a good asset to have on the team. It's like she might go the other way because she's crazy.
She might go the other way, but she's not gonna. She's good at self-preservation, right? She's not gonna do anything that's gonna kill herself. But she does have a good point, though. Her choice in men has been pretty bad up to that point.
Exactly. She's pretty loyal to Flag, though. I think she would. She seemed
low, but she didn't seem that broken up about what happened, about stuff. So, God damn it. It's hard to talk about stuff.
I know.
Do you think that, I would think that most people who were going to really see this would have already seen it, though? But maybe.
Yeah, really, I was not kidding when I said heavy spoilers, because I wanted to talk specifically about that scene with Peacemaker and Flag. And it was, to me, it was kind of interesting because they, as a team, they show us the typical, kind of bonding thing, and they're a tight-knit team. But when it came down to it, it went the way that it did. And but what I liked,
when it came down to it, he'd eat every dick
he
off
did. Like, who puts penises all over the beach? Who knows why dictators do what they do?
Who knows why madmen do things?
It was like, wait a second, that was a weird pivot, but that was funny.
If someone said I have to eat all these dicks for liberty, I would totally.
But I like that he wasn't just like, it wasn't a cut and dry like, nope, I'm going to do this and I'm going to end you. He was like, don't make me do this. He didn't want to, and you could tell they actually didn't want to fight, and you knew it was going to turn out badly for one of them at least. And unfortunately, it was Joel Kinnaman, which he's awesome. So, but as you mentioned, he has a supernatural girlfriend, so he could come back in a future movie. So
he could, but I don't know that they're going to do any more Suicide Squad movies. Not. And if they do, I mean, I think if you've seen any interviews with James Gunn, he's like, yeah, Warner Brothers said, DC said I can do whatever I want, basically, and kill off whoever I want to kill off. Right. So I think they think of this as a standalone for sure, and not part of the larger, whatever you want to call it, the larger DCU. It's not going to affect anything else that happens in any other movies. That's not going to affect the other Batman movie or any other whatever. No. It's just not.
So I think that's okay. It's totally fine.
It's a one-off, right? So probably, or or whatever. But you could certainly bring back the rest of these characters. I mean, sure, I would see Idris Elba again, who was also really good in this.
Yeah,
I love the fact that his helmet looked like the alien. That was pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
that was kind of cool.
It's weird. I don't remember that from the comics, but anyway, maybe it was.
And then of course it's not a toilet seat. It's
not a toilet seat, right? Exactly.
For John Cena's character, but we're going to get to see more of him though, because there's a Peacemaker TV series coming out. So,
well, that's right. Because you knew he was going to survive, even though he got a smaller bullet. His smaller bullet went through the bigger bullet and killed him. So that was pretty funny. But I think the standout for me would be Ratcatcher.
She was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she was Daniela Melchior.
She put the heart in the movie. I mean, and that's not any. I know that all the reviews are like, oh, she's really the heart of the movie. She really was. So.
Yeah, well, her touching backstory about living on the streets and training rats with her dad, played by Taika Waititi, which I thought was pretty
nice cameo.
At first, I didn't recognize him. Like, oh, that's Taika Waititi. But rats are our friends.
Yes.
yeah, she had a really good story, and he's like, I'm gonna save you from this. And he's like, no, I'm gonna rescue you.
Yeah.
And they end up rescuing, and she does actually rescue everybody. It turns out.
Yes.
If you think about it. So yeah, she was great. A surprise. And David, I know I'm gonna mispronounce his name, Dashmalian.
Oh yeah, that was
as Polka Dot Man. Who's on a run, by the way. He's in this, and then he's in fucking Dune as Peter de Vries. Yeah. So he's like, good for him, man. This guy's been in everything. Also in Green Hornet, by the way, your favorite movie.
Yeah. Shut up.
But he's been in tons of shit. If you look at his credits, he's been working forever. But he's finally kind of coming out front and center. I thought Polka Dot Man was excellent, and the whole gimmick of him seeing his mom everywhere was pretty funny. Yeah. So.
Well, just the fact that
was unexpected.
Again, is another character that is like just a terrible, useless character in the comics that he actually gave some meat to and some heart and emotion to, because you're like, oh, so this isn't as ridiculous. So when things happen to him, you're kind of invested. So I thought that was really well done.
Well, he finally gets to feel good about himself.
But hey,
for 10 seconds,
we need to talk about the 500-foot starfish in the room, because I'm just like, to me, the fact that we got Starro. And the
only thing I wanted to say is Peter Capaldi throwing the F-bombs too.
Yes,
I thought was pretty funny. I've only seen him as Doctor Who. I'm like, whoa, he can act. He's really great.
Oh yeah,
he was great as the Thinker. I thought.
Yes,
I thought, that's weird.
He was very good.
And he was like super creepy. And the one star, I was like, he had his way with me. He's like, oh well, sorry.
Yeah, he's like,
I did.
Oops. Yeah,
oops. Yeah. And it's like, how would you like 10 rats up your ass? He's like, my answer to that might surprise you. Just that throwaway shit like that, too. It's just funny to me.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on Detachable Kid, though. That was pretty stupid.
Oh, of course. But, yeah.
Your name is TDK? Yeah. What does that mean?
It's like, anyway, Nathan, I'm going to make sure you're in all my movies, but you're going to play really dumb characters and stupid things are going to happen to you.
But by the way, the Detachable Kid survived.
Did he?
So there you go. Yeah, he was in critical condition, but still alive.
That's right.
So he could be in Suicide Squad. I'm sorry, the Suicide Squad too. Yes. So yes, let's not forget Starro the Conqueror.
Oh, that was so awesome. I'm sorry. That's a very 60s created comic book character that is completely absurd, and they've done many things with him over the years and kept him around, but I just thought it was pretty great. Of all the villains you could choose, that was
what. Well, it actually fits perfectly with this kind of show.
Yeah.
This kind of movie is like this bonkers movie. It's like, what weird, obscure, fucking villain can we dig out of DC's library? Oh, I know, Starro.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense, actually. He was pretty menacing. His shooting those things. Oh, he's having little babies. Those aren't babies.
Yeah.
Like, wow. It was great, and the way that that it ends up, I thought was interesting. But here's the funny thing to me watching the movie is you assume, I guess, rightly or not rightly, that Bloodsport will be the person who kind of figures shit out, right? Because he's the leader, quote unquote, and he's I guess because he's a man, maybe, or whatever. Because he seems like the hero of the movie, right? In some ways. So you feel like he's going to be the one that does something, but he doesn't really do anything at the end, does he?
No, he doesn't. He cowers as rats flow over him.
Right,
well,
exactly. And
the thing, though, they came together as a team at the end. They kind of each figured out what they needed to do. Like Harley, it's like, okay, I'm just going to dive right into his eye, but that worked because it let the rats inside and stuff. So
who let the rats in?
Ooh, squeak. Anyway,
there you go. Yeah, and James Gunn always has to have like CG creatures. Like we have a baby Groot, of course, as Sebastian the rat. I'm not shaking that rat's hand. The rat's like, oh, bummer.
Sebastian was. I'm glad he survived. The rat with the little red vest.
Sebastian, yes. So. Sebastian was cool, and Weasel, which is interesting. Sean Gunn as Weasel, of course. I don't know. Does he treat Nathan Fillion worse or his own brother? He kind of treats his own brother pretty bad.
Because he had a scene as a human that didn't.
Yeah, he did.
So that's true.
I want you to entertain at my kid's birthday party.
Yeah, except Weasel turns out to still be alive. So.
Yeah, that's another thing we're talking about, how he subverts things. Like, did anyone check if Weasel can swim?
Yeah, and he immediately dies right away. But No, does he?
Yeah, he doesn't actually. What an interesting. I'm sorry, I don't have to spoil it for everybody, but it was also an interesting use of your best buddy Michael Rooker too, because you think he's going to be some badass, but then I don't want to get rid of all the twists. It's not. I don't.
No, but it's I don't know. It's really great.
It was definitely a different way to go. The whole beginning of the movie is a different way to go. This is all basically a diversion for the real.
Yeah, I mean that was
Suicide Squad.
That was a whole pivot too. It's like, here's the big dramatic beginning, and it's like, that part doesn't even really matter because here's the real squad.
Well, it matters in the sense that
it
matters in the sense that your one of your main characters' flag is not with your
exactly
team. So
it's like,
but
poor Boomerang.
Poor Boomerang, Captain Boomerang. Yeah. They seem to. It's funny because I didn't feel like they were really getting along in the first movie, but maybe again this doesn't matter. So they've obviously got some kind of history. But she definitely, Harley definitely she liked Flag because he was nice to her.
Well, they kind of seem to have like a flirty thing almost between those two. So I was like,
maybe. In the James Gunn cut.
Yes.
I don't know. Is there an extended James Gunn cut? Maybe.
I doubt it.
I doubt it too, but but I thought it was interesting that Ratcatcher 2 is kind of like the pivotal character that sort of seals the deal at the end, which is fine. I thought it made sense. It's not your town or our city. It's it's their city, and the rats come out and take care of business. But
I still love King Shark though. He was pretty great. I could wear a mustache.
Yes.
And
fake mustache,
and Ratcatcher becoming his friend even after he tried to literally eat her. So,
yeah, it was kind of that was unexpected too.
Yeah,
a little bit to see one of your guys trying to eat the other members of the team. Stallone did a great job. Probably got a lot of money for that.
Sure.
He had more lines than Groot does.
He did.
But
now I'm a big fan of this movie. I'll be watching it multiple times. And if they were like, "Hey, James, do you want to make some more Suicide Squad movies?" I'd watch them. I'd be okay with that.
I mean, I guess you could, right? There's
absolutely. There's way more characters out there. So,
well, there are, and if you can say one thing about James Gunn, he's really good at taking sort of obscure characters that you don't know about or care about, and you actually care about something. Like I didn't, anything. Ratcatcher 2 seems like a weird character to get involved with or to care about, but I ended up caring about her character. Well, I think it's also because they got developed more too,
right?
Absolutely. She got a backstory, she got flashbacks, and it's kind of like almost her movie in a way. And then Idris Elba obviously got developed because he's Idris Elba, and sort of the main character, one of the main characters, and then of course Harley Quinn. But they also don't seem to mention anything from the Harley Quinn movie either, which they kind of don't take that as canon.
Well, I mean, she does bring up my choice in boyfriends,
but that's just everyone knows she dates the Joker. Right. That was her boyfriend. Right. So, but it's just like, my choice in men is terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. I quite liked it. I would recommend, would watch again, would watch more. So,
would watch more. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it again. I think what it was is I was just so. Like the first time I watched it, it was late. I started it late at night because there was a time I had, and I got sleepy, and so I didn't finish it. And then the next day I watched it all the way through again, and I don't know. You have to be. Here's what this movie would be great. This is a movie you should see in the theater. I mean, I'm not trying to get people in trouble or get them sick or whatever, but I feel like this is something you should see with an audience, like a midnight show. Everyone's drunk or something. It would definitely play like Midnight Fantastic Fest or something like that. That would be a great thing. Seeing it alone in your office where you watch stuff. I don't know if it hit the right beats for me.
That's where I watched it.
Well, you're just a better person than I guess.
No, I don't like other people, so that
well, there's that, and I think the feeling's mutual. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm sure it is. I make a point of trying to make it that way. So.
It was definitely cool, though. It was visually awesome, and I liked the music. I liked, the cinematography. I liked all the components, like the whole thing where they're fighting and reflected in his helmet. I thought that was a really good idea. I mean, some of it I've seen before, but that's okay. And some of it I've seen in other James Gunn movies too. But
and there's a nice cameo from the writer John Ostrander, who created Suicide Squad and wrote the first series. So.
Yes, that's nice. Right. Which we also mentioned already.
But did we? Okay. So
I do.
All right, that's fine.
He plays the doctor who shoots the thing in the back of Rooker's head.
Yeah, apparently at
I just call him Rooker.
Yeah, everybody does. Apparently at the premiere for Suicide Squad, Strander went to that, and when he got there, he heard someone yell, "My co-star!" and Rooker came over and gave him a big bear hug. So that's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I don't ever hear anything bad about Michael Rooker either. I don't
know. No, and he's in a ton of stuff, and always does a yeoman's job, as they say. So,
well, yeah, it's interesting you say that because you James Gunn made me care about Yondu.
Yeah, yep.
Right. It made you sad, or it made you feel something when Yondu sacrificed himself for Quill. Right. You kind of felt like, oh shit, this is like the surrogate father that Quill did, whatever, and he just killed his own dad. Spoilers for other Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Sorry, folks. But if you haven't seen that by now, I don't know what are you even doing here. But you cared about him in that movie, and he's good with that because part of it is that it's Michael Rooker, so you assume that he's going to have a bigger part. So you're like, oh, what's going to happen with this character?
And he starts the movie too. Yeah,
he does, and he's like obviously a badass or whatever. He kind of seems like one, but then it's a very good twist.
Yes.
But you care about him, but he really is good at making you care about more obscure people. I think he's a big fan of the whole idea that comedy and tragedy kind of go together.
Yes.
So there's a lot of tragic, quote unquote, characters in this thing. Although some of them are redeemed, most of them are redeemed at the end, I suppose. Like Polka Dot Man is redeemed in a way, or like is I don't know, not redeemed is not the word because he didn't really do anything wrong. But it's like he finds a purpose. He has some happiness.
Right.
And Ratcatcher has some happiness, and she can, contribute, and she feels good, and it's like, about the legacy of her father and everything. So that you do care, and of course you have to have the scene where Idris Elba's character's daughter just happens to be watching TV.
Yeah, of course.
That's my dad. So that kind of felt false to me, but you have to have it. So.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't like, I prefer that scene as opposed to some big like reconciliation between the two at the end. It's like, you're really my dad and all that kind of stuff. She's just like,
I don't know why. There's that. Do you ever watch the movie Armageddon?
Yes.
With
I know.
Yeah, okay. There's that scene where Will Patton goes back home.
Exactly.
And she's like, no, that's not a salesman. That's your dad.
Yeah, that salesman is going up. No, that's your father. And of course they have the big hug scene at the end and all that. So,
but that's Michael Bay. What do you want from Michael Bay?
Yeah.
He's not subtle. And that's the thing about this movie's not subtle either, but there's definitely some character development as much as you can. I mean, the movie's pretty long too.
Yeah.
But that's another thing I would say is the movie's long, but it doesn't feel long.
No, not at all. I think it's I know it's cliche to say, but it was exactly as long as it needed to be, and it told the story well.
Yeah,
so.
I would bet there's a longer version, and I would like to see it.
I would watch that. You mentioned Yondu, and that's another way that I think Gunn is very good at subverting or twisting things. It's like, Yondu was a part of these guys that kidnapped this kid, and they were gonna do nefarious things to him until they realized that he could get into small places, so they raised him and blah blah and all this stuff. And it turns out that he kept him around to keep him from his dad, and he was actually looking out for him. And as he said,
right.
I was never your, I'm not your father, but I'll always be your daddy. It's like, damn, that was like a gut punch right there. It's like, wow.
Well, yeah, and that's what I mean. And it took a couple movies to get there, but it's just, you feel like Yondu not only was using him to be useful, but he kind of fell in love with the kid.
Yeah.
He loved him, and wanted to take care of him. And you feel like, I mean, there's definitely something between Bloodsport and Ratcatcher.
Yeah.
What a weird conversation, Bloodsport and Ratcatcher.
Yes.
It's just, you remind. I mean, he has to say it out loud, which is sort of annoying. You remind me of my daughter.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yeah, we didn't need
you don't need to say that unless you do for the dumb people. It's like, no shit. That's like his surrogate daughter.
Right.
You're the daughter I like. Who
They could have skipped that and just done the I'll get you out of this alive. It's like, no, I'm going to get you out of this alive.
Yeah, you could have cut that. You're like my daughter. You could have cut that totally.
Absolutely.
And the scene absolutely would have worked without that. But so anyway, I don't know what I was saying, but
no, it was good. They developed the characters well. Again, it's like here's the character that Rooker's character we're going to start off the movie with, and in any other typical action movie, this would be the follow through, right? It would be the through line in the movie. It's like, no, that's not it, because even the team he's on, they're the distraction. They're not even the main team. So it was like, okay, that's kind of cool.
He's like a victim of poor decision making.
Yes, I did like the bird getting, or at least the bird breed getting revenge. That was kind of funny, but.
Yeah, and then that's true. What's with James Gunn and birds?
I know. It's like, dude, come on.
People have asked him like in interviews, like, no, I love birds, but just the characters are just terrible people. Like the general guy, like what he does with all the birds is pretty bad.
Yeah, so, it's like, wow,
damn, that's oddly enough, that is the scene where I was like, I felt the worst about the entire movie. Like, wow, that's horrible. People are getting killed left and right. I'm like, what the hell? Those innocent birds.
I was the same here because you could see it coming, and it was just like, oh, that's just terrible.
It was the sound, I think, that got it.
Yeah, but you really wanted to bring home the point that this guy was abysmal, evil. Yes.
Yeah, he was evil. Yeah. So, and of course they had to point out that once the people are attached with Starro things, that they're like basically the Walking Dead. So they can just be fodder at that.
Which is not like the comic books, though. You can remove Starro's little stars and people are fine. So.
Yeah, but this is a movie, right?
Yeah,
so they gotta mow down some people. If you know what I'm saying.
So as crazy as James Gunn is with Starro, I just want to mention the fact that in the recent Justice League comics, they fought Starro, and they actually got Starro on their side to save the multiverse and all this kind of stuff. And Starro sacrificed himself, but left one of his little stars behind to continue. To be Starro, but he ended up being adopted by Batman, and they actually called him Jarro because he lived in a jar. But he decided he wanted to be Robin, and so he's like, and he calls Batman Dad. It's pretty awesome. So
that is adorable.
Yeah.
Super adorable.
It's pretty great because you have scenes in the comics with Batman being all grim, and you hear in it because he communicates telepathically, and he's like, Dad, can this be my chance? I want to be Robin. And he's like, knock it off. So
quiet Starro.
And then Batman for a while refuses to call him Jarro. He keeps referring to him as Starro, but that eventually changes because
Oh, he grows to love him.
It's pretty great. So
it's so sweet.
So I would like to see Jarro in like the Suicide Squad sequel. So
yeah, I wonder if there'll be a crossover with Marvel and DC, and if James Gunn is the guy to do it.
He's proposed a few apparently.
Well, I don't. I think he said something like. Maybe mentioned it one time or something, but then people, of course, take things out of proportion and say, "Oh, James Gunn is pitching this," and they're like, "No, not really." No,
I think he's mentioned to like both of them. Hey, probably jokingly, it's like, "Hey, since I have my toe in both, how about we do a crossover?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah, that'd be great." And that was probably it.
Well, I mean, maybe like we were talking about earlier, like a Batman X-Men crossover. Oh, that we were talking about that before the show. Sorry. We mentioned that in the Stranger Things.
Yes.
Segment of this. There's a Stranger Things trailer, but the first episode of Stranger Things 4 is called the Hellfire Club, which I thought was, according to Wikipedia, if you can believe that. So that's something that figures prominently in the mutant universe in Marvel.
Absolutely. So there could be X-Men crossover. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe they dress up as X-Men for Halloween. I don't know.
There you go. So that could be. Yeah. That could be because what would that look like? You just dress like a regular person.
See, I would have them dress up in X-Men costumes from the comic books for Halloween, and one of the houses they go trick-or-treating to, the door is answered by Hugh Jackman, but just like as Hugh Jackman, and
he says, "Go fuck yourself."
Or whichever ones dress up like what Wolverine's like. Hey, I really like your costume, kid.
No, he said that's a stupid costume. Wolverine's a lame kid.
Yeah, that's it. Go fuck yourselves.
Why don't you pick somebody else? Yeah. Comics aren't real, kids. Get out of here.
Yes.
Doesn't even bear to do. It's like, well, we fought the Demigorgon or whatever. It's like no one gives a fuck.
Yeah, really. Get off my lawn.
Yeah, I would say that you were talking about the profanity and stuff. It was cool. It didn't bother me. I don't like profanity. Obviously, we say fuck on this show all the time. I still think that if I went back through the movie, which I will, I don't know that Harley even says fuck one time. I think she says frickin' and she says.
No, I'm pretty sure she does.
Really? I don't remember her swearing much at all, which I thought was weird. It kind of almost seemed like Margot Robbie did not want to swear.
No, it could be.
Because I don't remember her saying. I mean, Idris Elba's character says "fuck" all the time.
Yes.
But And of course, again, one of my favorite lines is "dope as fuck." That was funny.
Yes.
Yeah, good old John Cena.
And the little competition between
wrestling.
him and Bloodsport when they're killing off the freedom fighters was
Yeah.
pretty great too. So I don't know.
And he got to throw a few wrestling moves in there with his fight with Kinnaman too. So,
yeah. So I don't know.
By the way, I don't know what John Cena does to work out, but he's fucking ripped.
He's pretty huge. I mean,
I'm like, damn.
I mean, even in F9, it was like he's bigger than Vin Diesel. Holy cow!
Well, Vin Diesel's tiny. Let's be honest. But I loved in F9 where they're like shooting Vin Diesel from behind. Like you remember at the end when he goes to the racetrack with his kid.
Yeah.
Like they're shooting him from behind. He's got like a flowery sort of, not flowery, but like a billowing kind of flannel shirt covering his giant gut, which is why apparently, spoilers. One of my friends worked on like behind the scenes stuff for that. He's like sort of fat in the movie. So if you notice, like all of his shots basically are like close ups almost. So because they're hiding his stomach.
Well, there's a lot of he's in a t-shirt and stuff in a bunch of.
Sometimes, but apparently, it's like at the beginning of the movie, you're probably in shape, right?
Oh, right. Thin. So he kind of let himself go.
As the shoot goes on, you probably don't you don't have a gym right next to the set, although I'm sure he does, but he just had more dad bod towards the end, which is funny because he was a dad.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't want to get on to F9 discussion. It was just not great.
It served
its purpose.
It was. I would say it was not. It was not anything unexpected, and it was just like, I mean, it's definitely like one of those things where it's like, as popcorny as the other movies are, and as fun as they are, to a certain extent, it's probably time to stop making them, because it's just like, okay, that's enough. And I kind of thought, and my wife, who loves the movies, had the same feeling. The little end scene with. I'll say grace, let's eat. It's like, oh, we have an empty chair, and you hear the car, and the blue car pulls up, and I'm like, I don't know. It seems kind of weird that they've left Brian O'Connor alive in that universe when the actor is gone, and they're now going to have cutesy reasons for why he's not in on the action, and we're going to have him show up, but you won't actually see it. I don't know. It just seems weird. It's just.
Wait, you thought that was him showing up at the end?
That was Brian O'Connor showing up at the end in the blue car.
I thought it was somebody else.
No.
I didn't realize that. I guess I didn't make the connection that was him.
No, because
I thought it was Dom's brother.
No, because they look at the seat that's empty next to Mia, and he hears the engine. It does a little smile, and it's the same car that he's driven in a few other movies and stuff. So.
Oh shit! Yeah, I didn't.
I was just like, that just is weird. I don't know. It just seems wrong.
Well, yeah. Why bother? But my question is, I thought it was.
No.
I actually thought it was. Oh, you're right.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. At this point, I'm like, either just stop mentioning him, or, have him kill him off screen. It's been long enough, or something. They just, I don't know. Just.
Yeah, that's funny because I could have sworn they addressed his death in a different movie.
No. No, he's retired, and they keep having because like in one movie they're like
he's retired, but he doesn't spend any time with his kids.
No, that's what he's doing. He's with his kids and his wife off someplace else.
Oh, they're in the safest hands possible.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's right.
So like I think in the last movie they're like
I paid a lot of attention.
We should bring Brian in. It's like, no, leave him out of this. He's he needs to stay with his kids. And then this one they're like, oh, all the kids are going to go with Brian, and he's not going to be part. It's
all about family.
Yeah, but. It's all about family and all this stuff, but they're not going to have them as part of whatever they're doing to save their I don't know. It's weird. Right. It's weird. And it's just like,
okay.
So it's time to, I think it's time to stop making those movies, to be honest.
Well, they got two more, apparently.
Yeah.
I thought that, for some reason, I would have bet money that was supposed to be for John Cena to show up. His Dom's brother was going to come and join the table.
No, I mean, maybe it could be, if you've never seen the movies before, people would be like, oh, that's just John Cena, but for the old school fans, it was obvious by the car and stuff.
For the real fans,
the true fans of the true.
Yeah.
I'm going to gatekeep Fast and Furious movies now.
I'm not a true fan of Fast and Furious, clearly, because I did not make that connection. But yeah, I guess now that I think about it, that makes more sense that the car was the car that he drove all the time. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, but
anyway, I don't know why we got into an F9 conversation because of John Cena being in both movies. But yeah, he's definitely. He's definitely better in this one than he was in it.
Yeah, and
I don't know. James Wan is not a terrible director. I don't know.
Justin Lin.
I'm sorry, Justin.
Same difference
James
though.
Wan.
They both have like directed the Fast and Furious movies, but
Did James Wan direct a Fast and the Furious movie? He's the Saw guy.
Yeah, but I thought he directed one of them. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think it was Justin Lin. Yeah, I don't know. I should know these things, but I don't. I'm no expert at movies or nothing.
Well, you maybe shouldn't have a podcast.
Probably not. No, I got to look it up. He did. Oh, I know. Oh no, he did the 7th installment of the Fast and Furious franchise, Furious 7, and Aquaman.
Yes. Is he doing Aquaman 2?
I for one am happy that Aquaman 2 is filming.
Yes.
I don't know what it is about Jason Momoa, but I think Jason Momoa is cool. So I'm happy that he keeps. You know what's weird? I don't know why I worry about Jason Momoa. I worry about him having work.
But he works all the time though. He's in like a ton of stuff.
Like, what is he gonna? He's like a one man. Yeah, he's directing Aquaman and the Last Kingdom. Okay. So there you go.
Yeah, Jason Momoa is like even in stuff. I keep finding out it's like, oh, the 3rd season of this TV show that I never heard about is coming out that he's been starring. I'm like, what? There's like 2 or 3 shows at a time he was starring in. Like,
well, he's in C, and then he's in that other show. Like he's a mountain man or something in the Old West. Trapper or something. And then he's been in a lot of shit. I don't know why. I just like. He's the kind of person where you're like, oh, what is he gonna do after Game of Thrones? He's like, I'm Khal Drogo. I mean, that's kind of like he's one note in a way, but no, he's expanded his repertoire.
Before Game of Thrones.
Well, he was on what, Stargate?
Stargate. He was on a show North Shore. He did movies before then, so he's all right.
So you're saying I don't need to worry about?
No,
him?
I think you can just enjoy his movies and don't stress out. He's gonna be okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, because he seems so happy. I don't want him to be.
I'll take up the mantle of worrying about him from you. You don't have to do it anymore.
All right, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. He's gonna be all right.
That's what.
Because I know he's got a lot of kids. He's got a whole. He's got a thing. He's got motorcycles.
Here's the thing. You know that Jason Momoa is cool and is a decent guy when his wife's ex-husband thinks he's the best thing ever. Lenny Kravitz is always posting stuff about my brother Jason and how awesome he is.
I know.
It's like, what?
It's cool. Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that, I mean, I don't know anything about Lisa Bonet and Lenny Kravitz's relationship, but they seem amicable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't think they're going to do that for publicity purposes, because what does Lenny Kravitz get out of it?
Right.
What do they get out of it? So it seems genuine. They seem to be genuinely friendly.
Yeah.
It's like Ashton Kutcher and Bruce Willis.
Yeah, exactly.
Having vacations together. Yeah. But they seem generally happy with each other, and they seem generally, cool about it, and that's great. And I don't know why I care so much about celebrities, but there's only a few that I actually am interested in.
Yeah, me too. But for the most part. But I think maybe it's just that it's so unusual to see a cool celebrity who doesn't seem like an asshole, because a lot of them are probably assholes. Yeah, it's always. I mean, and maybe it's because like the cool stuff like Kravitz and Momoa and some other stuff. There aren't. Let's put it this way: there aren't tabloid magazines devoted to all the great stuff that celebrities do. Right? It's all about how horrible they are and cheating on each other and stuff like that. So,
well, and you hear about all the assaults and all the taking their dicks out.
Well, yeah, especially like lately.
Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood is a terrible place for a lot of people, and that's unfortunate. But you never hear things like that about Momoa.
Right. So it's cool to see more stuff about how generous he is or how neat he is, and then just seeing him having fun in even as Duncan Idaho in that trailer. It's like he's enjoys at least to me it looks like he enjoys acting and has a good time with all his roles, and that's really great. I like it.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I follow him on Instagram as you do, I'm sure, but he always posts about I'm getting too old for this shit kind of posts sometimes. Like Aquaman 2 is kicking his ass. So I don't know. I also think that the way I gauge it, I guess in my mind, is who would I want to? Who can I see myself sitting down having a beer with or something like that? And he would be a person I could totally hang out with and have a beer with, probably.
He would be someone.
Plus, he's also a film photographer.
Well, there you go. Here's how I gauge those things, because my brain doesn't work. It's like if I was on an international first class flight somewhere that was like 10 to 12 hours. Who and I had to have a celebrity sit next to me, who would I want? And Jason Momoa would totally be one Although it may be like, dude, leave me alone. I'm going to sleep for the flight. But
maybe he does seem to have a lot of energy, which I
appreciate. But that's kind of my gauge. It's not like you can go have a beer with anyone and it's like, oh yeah, this guy's a douche, I'm going to duck out. But if you were stuck on a flight with someone sitting next to you, you kind of can't get out of that because you're stuck on the plane, right? So
that's a good point.
Think about what celebrities you'd be cool with sitting next to you. It's like Gwyneth Paltrow. That would be horrible because she's into all that weird crap, right?
You gotta put rocks in your vagina,
right? And I'll just be like, it would be a struggle for 10 hours not to go, what the hell's wrong with you, right? But
yeah, exactly.
Someone like Dwayne Johnson or Jason Momoa or Michelle Rodriguez, even anybody like that.
That'd be an interesting flight with Jason Momoa and The Rock on the same plane.
Right.
I would just be like, wow, what do you do?
Yeah.
You just sort of hang out and let them go at it to each other, which would be fun.
Yeah. So they're
both such like positive, happy, like energetic dudes. You just wouldn't even get a word in. Probably
Helen Mirren. She was the best part of F9. I would totally, man. That would be. I'd probably talk her ear off, but about how awesome she is. But she'd be fun, So
good for her, by the way, just getting out there still.
Yeah. So
and doing shit. I mean, she's going to show up in the next one, of course,
sure.
because Jason Statham comes back, of course.
Unless Han kills him, but
well, that's true. He shows up that's right. With the sort of mid-credit sequence or whatever, Han shows up, and of course Han's not dead,
right?
And which I knew that he got killed, but then he didn't get killed, and they do explain that pretty well.
I think so.
I think it's one of those things where you can say things about Vin Diesel, but at least he keeps making movies and he keeps like employing people, which I appreciate. So he keeps like giving people jobs.
That was the other weird thing about those movies is like. Even before this one, it was assumed that Jason Statham's character killed off Han, right? Blew him up as revenge, right. And so then by the end of like the last one, they're like, "Oh, you're okay. You're part of the family now." And I'm like, "Wait a second, he killed one of your family," and you're just like, "Yeah, it's all right. Don't even mention it, right?" So it's like that was always weird.
Nah, don't mention it.
And
what was the misunderstanding?
I guess so. Maybe they'll address it in the next one since Han's back now, and it'd be like, kind of pissed off you guys didn't like kill him, but
yeah, but they don't want to have any real conflict
because it's all about family.
Not among. Well, I mean, family is one of those things where you can fight, but then you always make up.
I mean, like by the end of it, I figure the next two movies are going to end with. Cypher, Charlize Theron's character trying to kill him for 2 movies, and at the very end, he's going to be like, "You're my sister," and she's like, "Well, you don't share parents." It's like, I know that, but in spirit, you're my sister, and I love you. Right. You need to come back. It's going to be like that's how.
Wait, didn't she get? I thought she got blown up at the end.
No, she was flying a drone. So that.
Oh, that's right. It was a drone.
See?
That was actually, that was an interesting twist.
Yeah. So
it just shows how not invested I was.
But I've always thought of you like a sister that I never had. And Mia's like, "What do you mean? I'm right here.
I'm your sister, asshole." Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's funny to watch those movies, the evolution of plastic surgery.
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna hate to say it like that, but even the men have had some touch-ups over the years. Yeah. Jason Statham for one, for sure.
Yes.
They've all had work done, but it's got to be hard to be an actress because you're washed up. You're like too old at 30, to do anything.
Yeah,
you can play. What's the old saying? You can play the virgin or the slut or the mom. Right. That's your 2 options. But then you get to be too old and you can't do it. So at least he sticks with Michelle Rodriguez and his sister, and all the other women in the movie are not like teenagers, which I appreciate.
Yes.
And I'm talking about Vin Diesel now. It's like the same people. They do bring in some new blood like Gal Gadot and whatever, but she didn't stay very long.
No. They could bring her back though,
and they can bring her back, right? And I'm trying to remember that. I'm trying to remember the name of the actress from the Declan and whatever movie. God, Vanessa Kirby.
Yes,
yeah, she was great in that. And Charlize, who will never look bad a day in her life.
And she's awesome. Even like in a ridiculously stupid movie like that, she's still like the best part of it and acts well.
Yeah, her and Helen Mirren. I'd like to see them do a movie. Like Helen Mirren could play her mom or something, and they could have like a whole thing.
That would be cool.
I would totally watch that.
Yeah.
I would totally watch it. Yeah, that's the thing. You see someone and you go, "Oh, that's a movie star." I mean, people always talk about what's that thing? What's the it quotient or whatever it is that people have, the star quality. It's like you see someone like Charlize Theron immediately commands the screen.
That's a star,
right?
Yeah.
It's like that is a star. That is a movie star. And you see someone like I don't remember when I first started noticing. Like I was watching that movie with Quentin Tarantino and the vampire movie. God damn it. Anyway, see, I was going to have the story and then I forgot about it. What's it called? From Dusk Till Dawn. Thank you. And Tarantino's in it and whatever. But the moment Clooney shows up, you're like, oh,
yes,
that's a movie star. Because you'd only seen him on TV. I'd only seen him in ER or whatever. But he's like, boom.
Yep.
Pops off the screen. That's somebody. And the other thing is you immediately believe them as the character. Even if the character is ridiculous, like in F9,
yes,
you immediately believe that they believe. Like De Niro, it's like De Niro is De Niro, but he's also that's the guy.
Yes.
You totally see him as that person, and that separates him from a lot of other
that's
actors.
Like
it's just
Heat, that scene in the diner between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. Those are the only two people that could do that scene, and that's like. I don't, and I know that sounds weird, but it really is. I mean, that scene wouldn't be as iconic as it is if it wasn't for those two.
Right.
But yeah, they're.
Well, it was iconic. I mean, they were already big, also because they were big stars at the time, and they were in the movie together for the first time in a long time.
But it's just so.
I mean, technically, they were in Godfather movies together, but not really, right? So.
But like Idris Elba, he kind of takes over a scene. And takes over the screen when he shows up, and so he's.
I mean, I first saw him in a TV show. I saw him on The Wire. That was the first time I ever saw him. And he was great in The Wire. Stringer Bell.
But it's funny because people like earlier in their career, there are people that I've seen like William Finchner. I first saw him on a soap opera because back in high school, I had a girlfriend at the time watched soap operas, and I would just kind of like. Hang out with her, and she was like all invested in it and like staring at the screen, and I was like, well, I couldn't help but watch it because that's what we were doing. And for the most part, it's like, well, this is kind of laughable. But then there would be people like William Finchner that would show up, and I'm like, wow, this guy's really good. He really takes the role and inhabits the role and really takes the scene, and like, I bet that guy's going to go somewhere. And then lo and behold, he does like 18 movies a year and is fantastic in all of them.
He's like one of those guys, like a character actor, which he's submerged himself in the role, and he's always good, and he's always believable in every part he plays. I mean, he kind of plays similar guys a lot of times, but he's really good at that. And you see people like that, and just that guy's he's not a movie star though. He's a working actor. But I mean, the thing I was saying is like people who pop off the screen, and that's. I don't. You know what? I got to be honest. I don't know if that's. I mean, Idris Elba's great, but I don't know that he's a movie star. Is that a terrible thing to say? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a difference between a movie actor, I think, and a movie star. I don't know. And I could be wrong. He definitely has something. It's just I don't know if it's that thing that's going to make him a huge. He's not like Tom Cruise. You see Tom Cruise. The moment you see Tom Cruise, the first time you go, "Fuck, that guy is
he's a star,
dynamic, and he's going to be something." Yeah, he's going to be something. The first, he slides out in his shirt and his underwear in fucking Risky Business. You're like, that guy's going to be huge. Or Top Gun when he puts the sunglasses on. That's a movie star. And obviously that's true, but I don't know.
There's a lot of people from The Wire though, and I think Wire was purposely played like low key, but there's a lot of people from The Wire that even watching it, I was like, well, all right, so maybe I'll differentiate. There's some people you see and you're like, that guy or that girl is going to be somebody huge because they're out acting everybody else in this thing right now. And then there's like people that are part of ensembles that you'll look at and go, well, I want to see what they do next. Maybe not necessarily like they're overshadowing everybody, but they do a strong enough performance that you're like, when you hear like, oh, here's a new show, this guy's going to be starring in it, you're like, oh, I'm going to watch that because they were really good. So, I see that. So, but I don't know. To me, I'm like Idris Elba. If he's in it, I'm going to watch it, and I know that he's going to do great.
Well, sure.
So,
sure, absolutely. I will always watch his stuff. because there's people that you just like performances and everything, and just they seem like cool people, and they're.
But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Like Charlize Theron, she's like, even the little banter scene she had with the one dude in F9, she was like light years above him as far as acting. I mean, she could have done that scene by herself without him even in the room, and it still.
She could have played both parts, and it would have been believable.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Well, that's the difference. That's what I'm talking about. That guy is just an actor, and she's a huge star, obviously for lots of reasons. I mean, it doesn't hurt that she's super good looking. Sure. That doesn't hurt either. But like, take a movie like 2 Days in the Valley, the first movie I ever really saw her, and I think it was her first movie probably. You've got James Spader, you've got a whole bunch of people in the movie, names that that you recognize. As soon as Charlize throws up, boom.
Yep.
It's like you get slapped in the face. You're like, whoa,
yeah,
who the fuck is that? Again, it didn't hurt that she was super hot and really great looking, and also on the poster. In fact, seeing the poster, I think I actually saw the standee in the movie theater lobby one time. Like, who the fuck is that? I got to watch that movie. But I'm like, that person obviously is going to have a huge career.
Yeah, yeah.
Not just because they're beautiful, but she's actually really good in the movie too, even with her little accent that she's still got. But then she just blows up. I'm not saying I can judge character, success of people by seeing them the first time, but you can tell sometimes it's really easy to tell. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one who thought that.
And there's been times where I've seen someone like, wow, that person's going to go somewhere, and then they never act again. But which is a shame because
no one should listen to you about anything.
No, pretty much. And I don't like anything anyone else likes. So
Well, that's true. Well, like you watch, like you're talking about The Wire for a second. I'm sure you did watch it. Like Dominic West was sort of like I don't want to say main character of The Wire, but he was kind of like the main character, right? In a way, or one of the main characters. I mean, he didn't really blow up to be a big movie star.
No, but his name though. I mean.
Well, I know his name because I'm looking at the thing.
No, but I mean,
I know who Dominic West is. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean that everyone does. I mean, I would say, if you want to talk, like he was like one of the big ones who kind of broke out, but Michael K. Williams for sure also. Became huge. I mean, you definitely know who he is in a lot of stuff. He works a lot and he does a lot, but I don't know. I mean, maybe people don't know him. Like his name, but they know his.
Well, I mean, like Wendell Pierce, everybody.
Sure, Wendell Pierce, yeah.
Jamie Hector, but I mean, he was great in it, but he's not like anything stand out. I mean, he's basically a supporting role on Bosch, but he's still like a solid performer. But again, not like we're saying, not like a star, but a really good actor. So.
Well, I think the interesting thing about the Wire is that nobody really comes off as very good. Even Bunk, has his problems, but he's like one of the more moral characters in the show. No, I love him. I think he's great on. He's like the only reason I was watching that Jack Ryan show on Amazon because I like him. I don't have a problem with John Krasinski, but I'll watch him, and I definitely like Michael K. Williams, who played Omar, of course, in The Wire. But he keeps working.
Yeah,
they all do. But yeah, it's. Anyway, I don't know why we got onto The Wire, but because Idris Elba, I guess.
Well, as we always do, we like to ramble. Lance Reddick, he's always a solid performer too. He was in The Wire and really good in that.
Well, yeah, he's on on the John Wick movies.
Yeah, and he was in.
He's coming back for John Wick 4, which I'm excited about. John Wick.
He was
4.
on Fringe. He's
that's right.
Been on a couple other things I've seen recently, and I'm always like, I guess there's there's actors that you're like, well, people are acting, and then there's at the other end of the spectrum, there's the stars that are just gonna be phenomenal, and then there's like the folks that when you see them in the cast list or they show up on screen, you're like, oh, this is gonna be a really good scene, or you just know that okay, this is probably a decent production because this person's in it, right? So,
right.
So yeah, there's degrees, but like. That whoever that guy was that Charlize Theron was acting with in F9 about the Star Wars scene, it's like that guy was not of her caliber by any means.
No, I'm sure he felt that.
I'm sure.
Too. It's like I am not. I mean, who knows? Maybe she wasn't even there.
Oh, that's true.
It was a scene a shot that ties them together. Maybe it was just like reverses or whatever.
Yeah.
But she could have been in a totally. We're just going to isolate Charlize for one day in this prison set, and we're just going to shoot her out, and then
right.
I don't remember, but it's got to be. It would be intimidating for I'm sure for anybody to, you know.
And I mean, I showed up John Cena even more because I don't know. Justin Lin's a good action director, but not a character actor. So someone like Charlize Theron, who's a really good actor, is going to be able to handle. It's like probably doesn't need a whole lot of direction, but.
Well, if he was smart, he just said, he just left her alone.
But I don't know what
do whatever you need to do.
What he was doing trying to get John Cena to do anything, because you're right, he was just like a robot that just kind of said lines here and there, and we're gonna go do this, and it was like what?
So, well, I mean, that's kind of like everybody.
Well, that's true.
That's true. It's not like a movie where you go for the.
But there was like no part of that. Because, like, at the end, he's, like, suddenly saves him, and then he gives him his car to drive off in. And I'm like, how did we get to that? Because there's nothing in his performance that led me to believe that he was like, well, I really regret this, and maybe I'm doing this for the wrong reasons. There was nothing. All of a sudden, there was just this pivot.
Well, they have that moment where he tells Dom that his dad was, like, throwing the race. And he had to,
but it was... or
whatever.
It was still just, like, there was nothing in there that made him seem like he was going to be redeemed or had any regret for the course that he was on. It was like,
I feel like we're giving F9 too much credit. First of all,
are we analyzing it too much? Yeah,
too much time to. We're thinking about it too much.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I don't know that that's a great idea, but if you've never seen The Wire, folks, you're missing out.
You gotta go see
watch
that.
The Wire. It's an investment in time, and I would say that you have to pay attention to it. It's not something you can watch while you're doing 3 other things. You kind of have to pay attention, which makes it more difficult for some people. But it's been remastered in high def, 16:9, the whole thing. It looks great on HBO Max. If it's still on,
I would say acting-wise, writing-wise, directing-wise, it is a masterclass on how to...
On everything,
yes. It's just, you gotta see it. It's fantastic.
I even like the season where they were at the newspaper. I thought that was. I mean, I'm a newspaper junkie. I like that kind of stuff. Like I always say, I will watch The Paper, that Ron Howard movie, anytime it's on. I don't know why. It holds up well. It's definitely, like I said, it's definitely an investment in time and effort, but it's well worth it. I'm not saying it's the best show ever made, but it's in the top 10 of TV shows I've ever made.
I would agree with that, and it's certainly it's. If you like well done dramas and you just like great stories, you should watch it for sure.
Exactamundo.
Yes.
Oh, there's a knock at my door. Come in. We'll have to pause now while I.
We'll have to cut that out.
Oh, his iPad must have. It must have run out. So let me fix that.
Well, and that'll be a good thing to come back from and end the episode, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Pretty soon. Yeah, in a few minutes. Close the door, buddy. Bye. Oh boy. Yeah. So let's come back. Okay. So we've spent a lot of time with The Wire and with F9. It's probably not something we really need to care about too much. See the Suicide Squad, and of course when Why the Last Man comes out, like you said, Joe, we'll definitely dive back into that more.
Absolutely.
But I'm not going to reread it. Like I was saying, I'm just going to wait and absorb it and experience it in the movie or in the TV show. And I would say I'm going to watch. You know what? I guess I wasn't. Maybe I'm just not right in the right frame of mind to enjoy anything right now. Oh. So I think that's part of the problem too. So I think that I will revisit the Suicide Squad again. I did laugh. I can laugh still. I'm not dead.
You'll laugh. You'll cry. You'll kiss 2 hours goodbye. I don't know.
It'll become a part of you. I did enjoy it a lot, and I'm not saying it was terrible. I just
it just didn't hit right for you.
It just didn't hit me 100%, and I know that a lot of other people think it's amazing, and you do too. And I think it's, critics are raving and whatever, and it's definitely a James Gunn movie. It's like you can't mistake it. It's definitely a bonkers kind of ride, And I really think I would have enjoyed it more maybe if I was in a theater at midnight with a crowd.
And maybe high.
I don't know. That's no, not necessarily. Just maybe a beer or whatever. Just I don't know. Or maybe high.
It's okay, Chris. You don't have to like it. There's lots of other movies out there. It's okay.
Oh no, I do like it. I just didn't like it, I guess.
All right. Well, you're wrong.
So. Okay. If you say so. All right, so find the Flickcast on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and Spotify and all the other places you find podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. You can find Joe at What Joe Writes. You can find me at Chris Yu. You can find the Flickcast at the Flickcast. And you can go to Apple Podcasts, hopefully, and give us a rating or a review. I mean, a rating's fine. 5 stars is fine, I'm sure. This was a 5-star episode, so
absolutely.
It's definitely worth 5 stars. Yes. I'll say 5 stars one more time. 5 stars. Yes. Thank you. And then you can go to our Patreon if you are so inclined. I don't know if people hate that I mentioned that. Maybe they do. Maybe it's like, why do you guys keep asking for money? I don't know. I'm not really asking for money. I have money. I'm fine. And Joe has money. He has a job. Yeah. We do this kind of for fun. I mean, it'd be nice to pay Michael.
It would. For
editing or whatever, or or just to support the show. I mean, it's a couple $bucks a month. It's not a lot. Hopefully, if you like the show. Then go to patreon.com/theflickcast and support the show that way. But you know what? If you just listen, that's fine too. And if you just want to, go to the Apple Podcast app and give us a rating, that's fine too. We appreciate that a lot.
I think, more than anything, we want your feedback. So please let us know what you like about the show.
More than anything, go ahead and say what you like. And more importantly, what you don't like.
So. And we'll do more of the stuff you don't like. So... because that's what we're about.
Yes, it's about subverting expectations.
Yeah, see?
That's what we do. So cool. All right. So for Joe Dilworth, I am Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks so much for listening.